Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden and we're going to head up towards Gothenburg once again, Göteborg as you would say in Swedish, the Swedish craft beer capital up on the west coast, and we're going to go back to a brewery who I have reviewed a good number of beers from before, but this is one of their older beers and one that I just hadn't got around to reviewing before. So for this one then we are going to go to OO Brewing. And we're having a taste of the Ekta Pils today, which comes in at 5.2% ABV. So this beer is one that I ordered for a couple of reasons. The main reason actually was that I saw Peter, the master of hoppets, said that this was his favourite craft Pilsner beer. I saw a post that he made on Instagram, and then ironically just yesterday, before I decided I was going to film this review, I saw that he made a video in his story, on his Instagram story, and Ole from the brewery sent him a whole crate of this stuff actually, which was pretty impressive. So yeah, I ordered this one maybe a week or so ago and just got it in a couple of days back, and I thought, you know, if Peter says this is his favourite craft pilsner, I really need to have a go at this. I haven't watched his review incidentally, but I'll watch it after I've recorded my own one. But yeah, big shout out to Peter over at the Master of Hoppets, really nice guy from Denmark for those of you who don't know. Great selection of beer reviews on this channel, and he has invited me to go to Aalborg before actually, and you know, do some stuff with him, so I need to take him up on that at some point, and I need to see about hosting him the next time he comes over here for Brewskival and things. Once I've got my new apartment sorted, I guess that's something we can look at. But yeah, Peter, the master of hoppets, favourite pilsner, favourite craft pilsner beer I should say, so hopefully it turns out to be a good one. But to be his favourite, I guess it's got to be pretty damn good. But this is a brewery I've had some very good experiences with in the past. I know that they're good with these German traditional styles of beer, of which I'm a big fan. If you've watched the channel as well, you'll know that I'm a huge fan of traditional German beer. So hopefully this is a good review, and I hope that you guys enjoy it, and I do hope that Peter at the Master of Hoppets enjoys this one as well. Make sure you check out his channel if you haven't already. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one. The Ekta Pils coming in at 5.2% from OO Brewing in Gothenburg here in Sweden. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from OO Brewing before. No doubt you will see some more from these guys in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is that takes your fancy. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about OO Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So as I've told you already, OO Brewing are based in Gothenburg on the west coast of Sweden, Göteborg as you'd say in Swedish, and the company was founded back in 2011 by Olaf and Ole Anderson, who are childhood friends, and for many years they were also avid home brewers. So the pair have always been very interested in beers, and Ole was apparently heavily involved in the Gothenburg beer scene since pre-drinking age, and he was the original head brewer at Stigbergets Brewery, and this is where the original OO beers were produced. So while Ole is taking care of the brewing side of things, Olaf manages the business side of the brewery, but he also works in Copenhagen at a marketing agency as well. I think there was plans for him to move back to Sweden, but I'm not 100% sure about that. I haven't seen anything in the news about that, in fairness. But yeah, he works in Copenhagen and I think goes back to Gothenburg quite regularly. But apparently these guys just enjoy making beers that they would like to drink themselves, as many kind of home brewers turned professional brewers do. But in April of 2017, Ole took the decision to leave Stigbergets Brewery, and he invested his time fully in OO Brewing, with the company investing in a brewery in Hisingen near the Tingstedt Bridge in the city, and it's equipped with a 2,000 litre brewing system, which means they can brew up to 500,000 litres of beer per year. In the first year they produced around 100,000 litres, and they are planning to expand up to capacity over the next couple of years. As of June 2020 they've produced around 68 different kinds of beer, and there's a whole host of different things in there. I mean, it's probably my favourite beer that I've had from these guys was the Charismatico. I think that's my favourite beer, favourite IPA that I've had from these guys so far. But the Muscles and the Evergreen are very nice examples of old school, more west coasty leaning IPAs. You've got the classic Narangi New England IPA as well, which was created around the same time as the GBG Beer Week beer. that put Stigbergets on the map. So yeah, if you get the chance to try Narangi or the Evergreen or the Mussels, you know, those are very, very nice beers in my experience. So yeah, and you know, every year you'll get a few different things. They've got a couple of different Pilsners as well. They've got the Pivot Pils is the one that's a regular in Systembolaget just now. That's in their kind of core range. What else do they have? I've had the Porter from them recently. I had their Anniversary Porter, and of course you've also got the Arctos Imperial Stout and the Long Boil Barley Wine that they release every year, which are both pretty impressive, as well as the other things. And of course you've got the 100 series, which is the single hop series, and the 50/50 series, which is always very interesting. You do see me review one of those every month because they're releasing it through Systembolaget, of course. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about OO Brewing. One of my favourite Swedish breweries, I have to say. These guys are very good when it comes to trying different styles of beer, and they are mainly known, I guess, for their New England hazy IPAs. And Ole Anderson is a very, very well respected brewer. But yeah, if you want to learn more about this brewery, check out the brewery website in the description below. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and of course you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. Very curious to see what this is like. So yes, I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork before we get on to this then. You can see the artwork on this is quite different. This beer was originally released in a bottle, of course. I actually can't remember whether I reviewed Mussels and I can't remember whether I reviewed the Mussels and the Evergreen in cans. I've got a feeling that I might have, actually. But yeah, the Mussels and Evergreen, I think they are in cans as well now. But I've got a feeling those. I honestly can't remember whether I reviewed those in cans or in bottle. But yeah, the artwork on this one, when it was in bottle, was a bit different to what it is now. This is a kind of re-release, I guess you could say, as well. There you can see on the back there is the OO Brewing symbol, of course, Olaf and Ole. That's where they take their name from. And you can see there is the name tag for the beer, 5.2% Pilsner beer, this one, 330 milliliter can. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the taste, and then just dry the can off so it doesn't sweat. And yeah, let's see how we go then with this one. As I say, this is Peter, the master of Hoppit's favourite craft Pilsner, so I think it probably will be a pretty decent one. But in my experience, these guys are very good when it comes to the traditional German styles of beer. I'd love to see these guys have a go at a Doppelbock and a Dunkel and things like that. A Rauch beer from OO Brewing would also be really, really interesting. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this. And I'll tell you something, the aroma of this one, as soon as you open this up, it's really aromatic and very, very bright actually. So I like how that comes together. But yeah, as you can see with this one, it's poured a nice kind of pale golden straw colour, which is what you'd expect. I'm just trying to figure out, is it the haze? No, it does have a natural haze to it, this one. It does have a nice little bit of a hazy quality to it. It's not just the condensation on the glass. You can see there's about a 2/3 finger of it's a mix between a frothy head and a kind of bumpy head. It's quite bumpy around the edge. Nice little bit of frothy quality there in the middle of the palate too, but one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. And if I shine the light through this, it is actually, yeah, very bright, pale, golden straw colour, this one. So nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance, when you consider that it is a Pilsner style beer. Some of them can be clear, some of them can be hazy. This one happens to be on the hazy side of things. So yeah, let's have a little look at that aroma then and see how we go. And as I said, when you open the can up, it comes across as really quite bright and aromatic. So let's see what it's like closer up. Ooh, yeah. That smells really authentic actually. And that's the thing with the Pilsner style beer. For me, as I've told you many a time, I'm a huge fan of my traditional German style beers. The Pilsner, of course, was invented in Pilsen, which is now the Czech Republic in Bohemia. The Pilsner Urquell, of course, was the very first one, developed by a German brewer, but based now in what is the Czech Republic. And Pilsen, of course, was a dual ethnic city, I guess you could say, ethnic Czechs and ethnic Germans living together. But yeah, the aroma of this one is very nice, and the way that we should rate these German style beers is on authenticity. And I tell you something, on the aroma, that's pretty damn solid. One Pilsner I had recently that I was very, very impressed with was the Skånsk Lager from Hylia Brewery down south. I think that's one, if Peter does watch this review, I would recommend you get a hold of the the Skånsk Lager from Hyllie Brewery. That's a beautiful, beautiful beer, that one. One of the best, I think that's probably the best Pilsner I've tried in Sweden so far. But the Fin Pilsner from Hyllie Brewery is also very nice, actually. But yeah, this one to me smells really authentic. You've got that typical kind of Pilsnery malt crispness coming out of the aroma, which is really difficult to describe, but those of you who are into beer, I'm assuming you're into beer if you're watching this channel, you will know exactly what I mean. It smells a little bit like a kind of wet white bread sort of thing. You do get a little bit of it, you do get that lovely kind of just crispness out of it. There's a nice little bit of a kind of smoother white bread in there as well. A little bit of a biscuity sweetness. It's not quite strong enough to be a kind of straight up caramel, I don't think. But yeah, there is a nice little bit of a, there is a bit of a kind of biscuity McVitie's digestive type sweetness coming out of this one. But to me, it smells more of a kind of crisp Pilsner. It does have a little bit of breadiness, like I say, and you know, a few other little bits and bobs kind of coming out of it as well, but a very, very crisp and quite aromatic smelling Pils, this one, I have to say. On the hoppy side of things, you can get a little bit of an earthiness coming out of it, and that's typical of the Hallertau and the Tettnangers. This one probably does have some of the German hops in it. It could be Hallertau and Tettnanger, it could be like Pearl or Hercules, something slightly stronger in alpha acid. You do get a few other ones that are in that kind of category as well, German hops. There's some high alpha acid German hops these days, Mandarin of Bavaria and Hallertau Blanc, both of which are very nice actually in IPAs. But yeah, pretty sure this one is using something along the lines of Pearl or Hercules, something just a little bit stronger than that. It does smell really fresh and aromatic. The green side of the hops for me leans towards that floral side of things. You do get a little bit of the lighter grassiness, and the grassiness has a little bit of a kind of citrusy zest to it. But in terms of the fruitiness, you know, you're getting, yeah, in terms of the fruitiness with this one, you are getting a nice, there's a little bit of that kind of typical peary, appley ester that you get from the Pilsner. There's a little bit of that kind of zesty, lemony citrus that you'll get from the grassy aspects of the hop. But yeah, it's got a few things. There might even be a teeny, you know, there might be a teeny little bit of like an slightly apricot note or something in there. But for me, mainly peary and appley. A little bit of the citrusy, kind of lemony, citrusy zest that I was talking about, and maybe just a little touch of a kind of, you know, a touch of apricot or slightly gooseberry-ish note in there as well for me. But yeah, smells like a very typical kind of authentic Pilsner, this one. I do wonder with the level of aromaticity that it has, does it have an American hop in here? Because I know that some breweries like to add just a little bit of an American hop in it just to give it a bit more kind of bite, if you like. So maybe this one has something like, you know, Citra or Centennial or something like that in it, just to give it a wee bit more kind of bite, if you like. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. This one is the Ekta Pils, coming in at 5.2% ABV from OO Brewing in Gothenburg here in Sweden. Make sure you check out the aroma. This one really authentic but very aromatic leaning for a Pilsner style beer, this one. Let's get stuck in. Slange, skål. That is pretty nice, I have to say. I can see why Peter likes this one. I can. Yeah. Again, it's another really, really solid beer from OO Brewing. Well, I'm trying to think how this one compares to the Pivot Pils. I think the Pivot Pils is more... you know, it's a little bit more kind of, the Pivot Pils from what I remember is a little bit more sort of bready and maybe a little bit more kind of caramelly and biscuity than this one, come to think of it. This one to me is really very, very crisp actually. It's got a lovely cleanliness to it, this beer, I have to say. I really like how the malt base in this one goes together. But yeah, this one is really nice. I can say exactly why Peter enjoys this beer. Gets a big thumbs up from me, this one as well, I have to say. So yeah, let's try and just break the flavour of this one down a little bit then and see how we go. I mean, straight away in the middle of the palate you can feel that lovely crisp kind of Pilsner malt. It just blankets the middle of your tongue. As you go towards the back third of your palate, you can really feel the kind of crispness and the slight graininess coming out of the beer there, but in the middle of your palate it really is, it's got a nice little bit of smoothness to it. In the middle of your palate there is a little bit of that kind of wet, white, bready sort of quality, and then in the very, very centre of your, it's almost like you've got an island of that kind of wet, bready sort of thing, and then in the very centre of that you do get a little bit more of a kind of biscuity, caramelly kind of sweetness coming out of this one. It's a little bit McVitie's Digestive, but I do find, to me, this one, the crispness of this, it's almost a little bit dry. It's almost like, it does have a little bit of an almost kind of like the dryness you get, the sort of dry bitter notes you get from the hops. It's almost got a little bit of that in the centre of the palate, which is quite interesting actually. But yeah, I do like that. I find the more that I drink of it, it does actually get a bit sweeter, but you will find, I think, with this one, that it really, in the middle of the palate, it really does dry out the further you go into the aftertaste. That's something I've not really come across with a Pilsner, actually. It's a really interesting aspect to this one. But yeah, the malt base is very straight up. It's definitely not the most complex of malt bases I've come across in a Pilsner. And it's definitely not leaning towards the sweet side of things. This is one that really leans towards that crisp Pilsner malt rather than anything else. And I like that about it. This is definitely a change of pace compared to the other Pilsners that I've had recently. It strikes me as being a lot drier than a number of the Czech Pilsens or the German Pilsners that I've had before actually. This one does seem to be kind of amped up a little bit, so I like how it goes together in that regard. As I say, this one, it is a really good quality Pilsner, I have to say. I mean, the ones to compare this to obviously are the two that I've had recently, the Fien Pilsner from Heide Brewery and also the Skånsk Lager that they do as well. But this one's a lot crisper than either of those. The Skånsk Lager is definitely more, it has a good level of crispness to it, but it also has a nice little bit of an oily, biscuity, caramelly thing, which works out nicely. So yeah, this one is quite different for me. I like how that goes together. Yeah, this one really is. This is pretty nice. It's definitely one of the drier, hoppier kind of Pilsners I've come across as well. So in the back corners of the palate, there is a good little bit of earthiness in there, and that kind of builds a good bridge with the really kind of crisp dryness that you have out of this beer actually. But then as you move further forward along the side of the tongue, you can feel the earthiness does just fade away a little bit. Then it really starts to get quite big and floral and aromatic at the front corners of the palate. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy. So I like how that, I do like how that goes together. The grassiness is quite nice and soft, but at the same time you've got some nice floral aromatics on the side of the tongue. But then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters start to come out of the beer. But if you go on that front third of the tongue, you can really feel the dryness and crispness from the Pilsner malt creeping forward there, which is quite nice. So it does actually, even the fruity part of the beer is quite dry, I find. So yeah, the fruity side of things again is pretty straight up. You've got a nice little bit of that kind of slightly citrusy, zesty kind of thing that you'll get in the grassy aspect of the beer. But if you go actually into the fruity side of things, for me, this one has a little touch of that kind of light, almost you know, almost gooseberry type thing out of it. Yeah, there is a little bit of that almost gooseberry kind of flavour just on the front part of the tongue, but if you go further back than that, you do get a kind of stronger, darker, citrusy quality coming out of this one. It's not, it's almost got the same level of kind of pungency that you'd expect to like grapefruit that or strong lemon. It's got a bit of that towards the back of the kind of front third of your tongue there, but as you move further forward, it softens up a little bit. You get a wee bit of an almost apricot-y type note out of it. Then you start to get the kind of peary esters. I don't get so much of the apple esters out of this one, but you do get a little bit of a slightly peary kind of thing. Then you get the kind of gooseberry notes for me. So yeah, the darker citrusy zest at the back, further forward a bit more apricot-y, then peary, and then a little bit of a kind of almost gooseberry type note, and on the very edge of the tongue you get a little bit of the kind of citrusy, zesty sort of thing. So yeah, this is definitely one of the drier and crisper Pilsners that I've come across in recent times. You can see this one, we had this nice and chilled actually. We did have it really nice and chilled. The glass is sweating almost. But yeah, you can see this one for me is a really nice, crisp, really quite dry Pilsner actually, but it suits it. It's one of these beers that definitely leaves you wanting more actually. So yeah, this is definitely one that you could do a few of. Maybe this is one that should be in a 440 rather than a 330, to be honest with you. I would say that about it. This is one that should be sold in half litres as well as the 330s, but I don't know if they can do that with Systembolaget and things. But it is a very, very nice pils, this one, and I can see exactly why Peter likes it. I would, as I say, I would recommend that Peter tries the Skånsk lager. I maybe need to see if I can get a bottle of that to him somehow. I need to meet up with him at some point again. But yeah, I need to see about getting some of that to him, because if he likes this one, I'm sure he will like the Skånsk lager and the Fin Pilsner from Hyllie Brewery as well. So yeah, this is a really, really nice Pilsner, this one, and I'm glad I got to taste this. So mouthfeel then, very light, you know, not very light bodied this one, but definitely a light bodied beer, which again is what you want. It's got a good level of crispness to it. At the same time, there's a nice wetness in the mouthfeel. In terms of hoppy bitterness, it's got a lovely, I'd say this one must be a bit stronger than 30 IBUs. I think this one might be about 40 IBUs. There's just something in the hoppy side of this beer that makes it feel even more bitter for me. So I think about 40 IBUs with this beer. I would say the malt base is very kind of crisp and very light. There's not really a sweetness to the malt base in this one for me, and you've got just a little bit of a kind of fruity note to this one. It's got a little bit of a kind of citrusy, zesty type note, which I think is very nice actually. So yeah, one of the drier pilsners that I've come across, one of the slightly more bitter pilsners that I've come across, in fairness. So I do like how this one goes together. It's got a lot of authentic German quality to it, but it does have a little bit of that more kind of American bite, that more modern American bite that you would expect from this style. So yeah, thumbs up to OO Brewing for doing something a little bit different with this one. The Ekta Pils at 5.2% ABV. Peter, the Master of Hoppit's favourite Pilsner. So quite cool to review this one for you here on the channel. Let's leave it at that. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from OO Brewing. We will return to these guys at some point in the near future, but thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out OO Brewing, check out Peter the Master of the Hoppits, and I will catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, Slanja just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, Skål, make sure you check out OO Brewing and the Ekta Pils. Skål.